because I put so much work into this and I want to get some credit for this.
We are both exploring the dangers of seeking prestige, and we are doing that in very different ways.
Last week, we gave ourselves some homework to work on creating and writing out some scenes. This is a spoiler video, so we will look into a little bit of what we wrote in the scenes. But I also recognize that as we approached writing, we found it a little difficult to just sit and write, and there are other things that we recognized we needed to do besides just put words on paper. It reminded me of, say, practicing an instrument. My daughter Karis is a violinist, and a lot of her practice is not just about play the song over and over again. It's about learning technique, how to hold the violin, how to hold the bow, how to loosening the wrist, the shoulder, the elbow. So many different things about technique that have to be drilled and practiced. And in writing our novel, there's so much more than just the structure of the words and the poetry. There is the evaluation of making sure that the storyline works, that the character has an interesting growth arc, that the pacing is right, that the chapters are divided in the right places. So many things that we have to understand that in my case, it was about, since this is science fiction, making sure that the science is at least plausible, even though it's still speculative, that a quantum physicist isn't going to look at the book and just immediately laugh and dismiss the entire proposal as preposterous. That was really where my scene was. Those were some of the areas that we've been exploring.
For me, I was not focused on the science at all. I was looking at a reintroduction, I guess you could say, to one of the secondary characters. This is Reese Calloway, who in the original timeline is best friends with our main character, Arnold. Arnold then gets pulled into the future, and this is Arnold meeting back up with him 15 years later or so, and seeing how much Reese has changed during that time. And it's an exploration into who this character is now, and kind of sets up the impact that he has on Arnold for the rest of the story. And during this 15 years that they've been apart, Reese has become a very successful businessman, and he sees money not as the end itself, but as a means to prestige. And that is kind of where this theme comes in, of exploring the downsides of seeking prestige, is the things that he is willing to do and willing to give up in order to seek prestige and make sure that he has as much of it as he can. And then the impact that lifestyle has on Arnold, as well as he watches Reese do these things. And so in this introduction scene, the challenge for me was, how do I portray to Arnold and to the reader that this is who Reese is, that he values prestige more than anything? And so looking into the setting, the interaction that Reese has with his secretary, what he talks about and how he talks about it. How do I show the reader that this is the type of person that Reese is?
And it was 1,500 words that you
Yes.
put together in that scene. We approach this recognizing that if we write too many words and have to call it down, that's far better than writing not enough words and having to throw in fluff later. But in those 1,500 words, you explored and painted a picture of what the office looked like, what you could see from the office, different things that were in different places, and how you walked from one place to the other, all as part of the painting of the picture that shows who Reese Calloway has become. And then we talked about how specific phrases that he can use in his conversation with Arnold can hint to both Arnold and to the reader who he's become. And we talked about taking some of the things that were explicitly stated in the first draft brain dump of the scene and how we may be able to turn those into subtext that the reader gets to feel some credit for figuring out.
And there was a lot of dialogue that I had written that just feels way too long and will probably end up being cut in half almost, or if not more, cut down to just make the story flow better and to keep the pacing right.
And then for my scene, I didn't even get to... I wrote maybe 2 paragraphs of actual text, and the rest of it was bullet points, just trying to figure out the science. Since this is a spoiler video, we could talk about the 2 branches of science that I was looking into was exactly how slime molds grow and reproduce and what constitutes dying and regerminating from what's essentially a new seed versus the same structure continuing to live. Combining that with ideas of quantum physics and entanglement and what can and can't happen with entanglement, what are tachyons, and going back in time and how much of this is speculative, how much is theory, how much of it is settled, how much of it is still debated, that leaves doors open for us to speculate in our fiction. And what I found was that it took so much effort to research what is plausible, to be able to create this opening scene where time travel possibility is discovered and communicated, that I recognize in myself the temptation that I'm going to want to put too much of that into the scene because I put so much work into this and I want to get some credit for this. Let the reader know how much I learned that they probably really don't care about, including you made a comment that even just putting the title of the paper,
yes,
which I almost felt was necessary to lend some credibility in case the quantum physicists look at it, go, all right, I see where he's going. Even that may be too much, but that's the area where personally I'm recognizing a tendency to start to behave like the character Reese Calloway. I want the prestige for having put in the work for doing the research.
And I found even a little bit of that in myself as I was preparing, or maybe procrastinating is the better word, on writing my scene. I was like, okay, what building would he be in? Okay, he would probably be in this. Okay, so let me look at the floor plan. Where are the windows here? What can you see from this? Just to put in all the exact details of what you can see from this guy's office and from the lobby. And I was trying to make sure all the details matched up. And even though nobody's probably going to look into it, there's this idea of, if somebody does look into it, they'll be able to say, oh, he did his homework. Yeah, he knew what he was talking about.
I would like to share something that was in the Coursera course that I was taking, where the fact that you do the research and at least make it believable, there is value in somebody who is familiar with the area feeling like they can put themselves there. I think where the danger that we each face is wanting to make sure that not just that we avoid being wrong about it, but that we've tried to put it in so much detail that we say, look how right we are.
It's overbearing how right we are.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's where the danger of prestige comes in, not in the, I mean, yes, we can over obsess on the research to make sure that every little detail is right. Now, like, where exactly are the chairs in the office that happens to be there today? I think that would be overbearing, but recognizing, no, there really is a building. This really is set in this town. Let me make sure that you really could see from the window what I say you can see. Mm-hmm. I think there's value in that.
Yeah. I guess it kind of goes back to with Reese himself, his focus on prestige. The idea that we have of what it is that he does is there are valuable things to society that he is contributing to. Mm-hmm. and it's very beneficial, but he does take it a little bit too far, and it is his focus on, I want everyone to see how important I am, how indispensable I am, is the theme that kind of creeps up in this scene. That is what takes it from a noble thing to a less than noble thing.
Mm-hmm.
So our question for you then today is, what character can you think of that has a weakness of an obsession with prestige? Let us know down in the comments, and we actually won't see you next week. We're taking the week off for Christmas, but we will see you in 2 weeks.
We'll see you next year.
Yeah.